Hello my dear artist friends, and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. For today I will be painting a sky, and I decided to do three different ideas of painting sky. So I had divided it into 3 videos because it would just take too long, and maybe you just want to give it a try to some of those so you can watch the single video. Today I will be using some pink, and as you can see I am using these colors, watercolors from Etchr. I mixed in a little bit of the pretty pink and this color called Just Yellow, just to tone down that pink and make it slightly warmer. And I'm leaving one part white in the center, actually a little bit beneath the center, and all around I'm painting with mix of those two colors. Now I'm just picking up a little bit of the ultramarine and mixing it with the previous mix of colors with that pink, and just adding it on the edges where I have painted with pink, just adding that mix of those two colors just to give it a variety. And you can see how I'm adding it onto my paper. It's just mixing with the colors on the paper, creating beautiful transitions. And I guess I wanted to show you 3 different skies because some of you have been asking me to paint in some nebulas, to paint in some, I guess, universe, some space and galaxies, and so I decided just to give it a try. Three different skies. You will see tomorrow I will be painting the lightning, and the day after I will be painting again sky with this planet, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. It's quite simple. You can see I'm not really gonna complicate anything, and right now I'm just adding splatters with clean water to create a little bit of the texture. And to make that work, you have to make sure that there are no puddles on your paper and that the paint is wet but not very wet. Just while you are painting one part of the sky, one is drying, so while that dries you're just adding water and it creates those beautiful textures. If it's too wet, it will just blend in with the colors, won't be visible. If it's too dry, of course it won't create any effect at all. And now just picked up a little bit of the black and adding the black again in the corners and into those colors that I've added, pinks and blues. And we will be adding one more layer. You can use here some, I guess, black gouache, and if you use a black gouache or tempera, you can maybe make that part darker in the first layer, so you won't be it won't be necessary to paint in the second layer. I'm using watercolors, so they do dry lighter. It is very hard to achieve dark enough textures in the first layer, so I do like to add the second layer, and I do like to make those colors deep when you are layering. All the layers are slightly visible because watercolors are transparent, and it just gives more texture. And I guess the skies or galaxies do have a lot of textures, a lot of colors. They're not just one color, so for me it just creates a nice and beautiful effect. Just topping in a little bit of the pink here and there. I wanted to make that color also slightly stronger, but that's of course optional. If you want to add more color or not, just depends on what you like. I left it to dry completely, and you can see right now when it dried how lighter that is. And I'm again gonna wet the sky. You know what, I would advise you to change your water. I did not do that. I'm using a dirty water, but I would definitely advise you to change your water and to use a clean water right now for doing this. And you can see I have started with wetting my paper from the part that is the lightest and just going into the darker parts. And I don't want those darker colors going into the lighter colors to create mud. So I'm always starting with wetting, especially when I do want to leave one spot very, very bright and shiny. I'm starting with wetting in that part and going into the darker parts. Now again, picking up black. And you can see I'm picking a lot of color. I do want to have a quite amount of the pigment. I want it to be very, very dark. So I have added a little bit of the water on my paint just to activate them. And now adding that very, very dark pigment, very, very saturated black. And then a little bit lighter because I don't want to go with that black all the way. So when I do want to smudge it and mix it with my colors, other colors, I'm just using a little bit less pigment. Again, mixing in blue and pink and just going upwards into that black to create a transition. And you have to work quite fast here because you don't want the edges of the colors to mix. So be careful with that. And that is also the reason why we did prevent the paper, because if we hadn't, we would have to work even faster. You can do this without the preventing the paper if you're thinking that you might smudge the paints and move it around and create some mud. You can definitely do this without preventing the paper, but just in that case, you would really, really need to work fast. In the center, I'm not using any color at all. And now, again, a little bit of the pink here and there, just to match the value of the black with those pinks. Again, I've added just a touch of yellow into my pink to make it slightly warmer, to create another tone. And now just picking up the paint from the center, where I do want to leave it the lightest and the brightest. Just with a clean brush, I'm moving those colors where I want to add a little bit of the pigment. You can see right now it's still black, is still wet, so it's moving. I can easily move it right now. And a couple of splatters again with clean water again to create some nicer textures. And right now I'm gonna use this white paint. That's not really an acrylic or a gouache. It is a paint for, I guess, indoors, outdoors. That's a craft paint that is very well, opaque, and it is also creamy. It has a little bit thinner texture than gouache, and I decided to use that, something like an acrylic, but it's not an acrylic, so you can definitely use an acrylic here or gouache. And I'm topping it on top of my paints while the paint is still wet. And you can see I'm using a very, very small brush because I want those splatters to be small. I don't want them to be big, and a little water in my brush and in the paint, just a touch of the water, just enough for me to be able to splatter that paint, but I'm not watering down the paint. And just doing a couple of splatters, adding them on top of the wet paint, and you can see how they are blending in, how they are bleeding, spreading, creating beautiful, again, textures. They're not sharp with sharp edges, but have those blurriness around them. So a little bit more of that white, and I left it to dry completely again. And now on the dry paper I'm adding a little bit more of those splatters with that paint, craft paint, just to create those stars, and using a very, very small brush to do that. I'm just tapping on the tip of my brush again, using a very, very little amount of water. I don't want to water my paint down. And right now with this detail brush, I decided to add a couple of maybe bigger stars, maybe some distant planets, and also some shooting stars. I'm gonna do a couple of those. I like doing shooting stars. If you don't want to do that, that's also fine. I wasn't happy I did not do a straight line. It's quite difficult for me to paint in a straight line going from up to down. It's just easier to do it from left to right. So I'm moving my paper. Second one, and I'm gonna do a third one also right there. So like that. And I'm using paint straight from the bottle. I'm not watering it down at all. And now I will use this brush that's very, very stiff bristles. I do like to use that one for stars, especially smaller stars. You can use maybe a toothbrush here or whatever you like to use to paint stars. You probably already have your preferences. So this one is great for creating smaller stars and just you know that well, a lot of them in one place, lot smaller ones in that place. And I guess with that I'll be finishing off the first painting, and you can see how a little bit more, and you can see how simple actually that is. And you can use any colors you like. You don't have to use same colors as I did. And guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe gonna give it a try. It was helpful. Maybe you got a few nice tips, and I would like to hear that in the comments, what you like, what you didn't like about this video. And I guess tomorrow and the day after, I guess, or the next two videos, not sure when are they gonna get published, I'm gonna do two more sky ideas. And if you do like it, please hit the like button, share it, and comment. Of course, I would always love to hear your comments. And I guess if you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. That would be awesome. I would appreciate that a lot. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.